So we're going to put a wet coat on the ear of driftwood. I'm going to wipe my brush. I'm going to pick up some raw umber.
Is that chisel blender that you use?
No, this is just the 1/4" lunar.
Okay.
And I'm going to take all the way around the outer edges so you get that little bits of furry. Now it depends on how much of the driftwood was wet there. Like if I had thick, wet driftwood, it ends up over blending and it becomes muddy. I wipe my brush. I'm going to pick up some of our mix. Now that's our light mocha and mixed with the driftwood 1:1. And I'm just going to come in the middle and just kind of scratch up a couple of little highlights. Now I'm on the smaller bunny here, reduced, so of course you'll have a little bit more room to go with yours. And afterwards, if we need to when it's dry, we can dry scratch, and we will, a little bit more of the light mix on there. So once you've done that, you're going to do the same thing on the other ear. We'll just come up here with a quick wet coat. It doesn't need lots. If you don't have any driftwood wet on there, then the brown is overpowering. So I'm going to come up here. You want your dark to be right at the head. And I want the little furry pieces to come off the edge. So you just chisel them off the edge. So you'll work them in. And I'll darken up down here a little bit more. A little bit over there so that it's not a trim look around it. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. And I can put a smidgy of my light mix in here. We're not looking for tons, and you don't want it to come all the way down to the bottom. So I'm going to take my lunar blender again, and I'm going to put a thin coat of driftwood. And I'm actually pulling it the direction that I'm going to be pulling it. It doesn't matter, but it helps to get used to the feel of what you're going to be doing. So I'm picking up my raw umber, and I'm coming from the back end. Yeah, you can never see over there. And just come from the back end, scratching. Pick it up. I give it a little scrunch here. The same thing, come down here. You're not concerned about getting it on your muzzle area, because that gets done coming up that way. Wipe my brush. I'll pick up my mix, scrunch my brush again, and just kind of work from here, coming back this way, coming forward this way. So you see, I'm not pressing hard. You can hear the scratchy of the brush, but I'm not pressing very hard. We want to have a nice light highlight in the middle. You want to see those scratchies. And it is going to be shaded after, so the dark is going to get a little darker. So that's not too bad there. I'll just scratch that up a bit more. That works for me. Okay, so you've got to make sure you're going the direction of it. Alrighty. The raw umber. We do not shade the whole head. We're only shading the muzzle and around the muzzle. So we're shading raw umber on her muzzle. Above her muzzle. And just nice and soft out like that. I don't know if I put that on, did I? Yeah, okay. So the other shading, we're going to add a little bit of soft black to it, but we'll do that after lunch.
Okay.
We'll do that after.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to put a wet coat again, and don't worry about getting anything on our eye. It's there so we know where it is. So I'm going to put that wet coat, and what we want to do is we're going to take raw umber on the dirty brush, and I'm going to come up here all the way along with raw umber, all the way along the eye, the top of that cheek. And I'm, again, not pressing hard. I want to bring my raw umber. This is going to come out around it again, but right now I want to make sure that I don't have a blank spot behind it. So I'll just scratch that in there, and I've already lost my wet coat. So I'm going to put a little bit of light mocha back in here so that I have something to blend against. Bring it out like that. Wipe my brush, pick up bleach sand. Now our bleach sand, we want to come a little bit wispy off the edges. So you can do that first, and then just pull and scratch that back into this, so it just fades back that away. But you get to see the underneath, you know what I mean? Like we brought the raw umber far enough this way, so when you put this back on top, you see that there's depth in the fur below it. Now I'll show you the muzzle part. So I'm going to see where I bring it back out over top of that, around that, and this one in the background over here is smaller. I'm going to pick up a little bit of raw umber on the corner of my brush, dirty brush, work it in, and I'm going to apply the raw umber around here. I'm not looking to have it dark, dark. I want to work that in there and fade my way that way. And then the same thing on the other side. Just fade your way that way. Wipe the brush. And I'm going to pick up on the corner a little bit of the bleach sand. And I'm just patting that along there as a highlight, kind of like that patting that we did on the feet. So we work here. I got too much there. This is a reduced version. And there's 1/8 that's a smaller brush, but it's just too small, so there's no happy medium for this poor girl. There. Work our way back that way. All right, so that's what we're doing for the muzzle. The outer muzzle and the other cheek, and then the muzzle. So I'm going to do the ear on my larger board. I'll put a wet coat of the light mocha in the middle. Wipe my brush, pick up raw umber, and just streak some raw umber up the middle and a little bit outwards. We're just wanting to have it a little darker in the middle. Wipe my brush, pick up bleach sand, and I'll just chisel the bleach sand from the outer edge a little bit inwards.
She starts having an argument with herself, though, that's different.
And I'll go all the way along the outer edge. A little more of the dark up the middle. And that's that.
We were making fun of you. Well, yeah.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay, so the feet are more of a pity pat type of thing. I'm going to put my coat on. We don't want to see the long fur like we did on our ears. So I'm going to apply it, just patting it on there, where I want my darker. So it's along the bottom, and then kind of behind the toe. So I'll just wipe my brush, and I can just pit pat. So I'm just patting, I'm not stippling. Put a bit more dark in here. So it's like a little bit of a scratch kind of thing. And then I'll take my, I'm wiping my brush off every time. Pick up my light mix. And put that on the toe. And I'm going to just scuff that in, kind of in a little slip-slappy manner. And again, this will be getting shaded. We want to make sure that her toe comes out past the foot, and I've kind of based it that this is going a little off, so I'm going to just bring some more over here so that the toe does come out past her leg there. Nice and dark along the bottom. We just want to have a little bit of a fuzzy look, so it's kind of a, see how I'm twisting the brush back and forth? And then we're going to do the same thing to the other foot. Now this one gets its light in different places. I want the dark down the bottom. Again, underneath the dress. Pit pat to blend. But the light is on top of the toe, and it comes up this side of the leg. Now, at any time, if you think, well, I don't have enough light on, or I want more light, or I need more dark, afterwards, we are shading, but you can also dry brush. So you can come in here after and dry brush in a bit more if you want to. If you're concerned with padding too much. And when we shade, we will shade between the two. So it's just a little slip-slappy, scratchy pat. That's that. All right, girls, journey's on. So we're going to shade. I'm using a bigger brush for this one. And I've mixed a little bit of soft black into my raw umber. And we're going to shade like so. So you see those little kind of marks in there. Nice and soft. You're not wanting to put a trim line. Shade along the back of her head, walk it in a bit. You can strengthen up there, but we're going to shade under her chin and then just leave that dry. We're going to come back after. We'll strengthen up our shading that we did with the raw umber. And then I'm going to shade my feet as well. Just nice and loose. We don't want to have a trim line under her dress. Do more of a pat shading. Just strengthens everything up there. All right.
On.
So we're going to start on the eye by shading with burnt umber. So we shade along the bottom. I like to try to leave a little bit of space. If you don't, it's not a big deal. We outline after to fix that if you didn't. Then I'm going to do a small little float on the top with driftwood, just a nice soft float, and blot with my finger. Big finger because, hang on. This is an enlarged pattern. And then we're going to take light mocha with a 0 round and add a little comma. Make it a little bigger. And then we're going to do a little cluster, 3 little tiny dots over there. All right, go ahead. So we'll start by applying a coat of our plum suede, and we'll do a section at a time. You can see where your darks go by your photo and also by where it indents on her dress. So I'll just do a section, but it's important that you get the direction that you want to pull this in. I'm going to dip into my soft black and work my way out. By that I mean both sides. I apply it up the middle of that crease and then I fade my way out. If you need to pick up more of your morning mist.
You mean plum suede?
I mean of your soft black and your more, yeah, plum suede. You can blend that in. Now I'll put more in where this indentation is. You see that you're pulling up the direction. It's very easy to get heading the wrong way. I'll pick up my plum suede and use it as my blending color to streak my way up. I want it to fade into the soft black. And this is where you really notice that soft black has a purple base to it. Streak my way up. And I'll continue all the way across, again following the direction. So I'm going to make sure that I change directions as I go. All right,
So
go
we're
ahead.
not using any of the morning mist at all right
Not
now?
yet. So I'm going to strengthen up my shading on my dress. I'll shade a little stronger in that crease, a little stronger
See better over here?
along the bottom.
Oh.
Come back on this side. I'll shade, pardon me, underneath. This is soft black. fade it out down in front of the arm, under the collar. Just fade away under her arm. So that's strengthening it up. Now if you want, you can strengthen up the shading on the back of the collar. Didn't really need it, but it can be. And I put a little trim line of the soft black along the top of the collar.
So pretty on there.
So I'm going to take and put a wet coat on my collar using my Lunar Blender.
It almost looks like a fur collar.
I'm going to pick up my soft black and I'm going to blend my way from the back towards the front. So it comes from dark to light. The bottom of the collar gets a little bit of a lace trim put on it. I'm going to darken the back a bit more. And I'm going to wipe my brush, pick up a little bit of light mocha, and blend that from the front back a bit. And that's all we do to that for now. So we're going to put a wet coat of driftwood on our arm. And we're going to use raw umber, which I don't have out. Wipe our brush, pick up the raw umber, and apply it along the top. We want to have it quite dark up there. So you'll just kind of use the brush on the chisel and you'll be kind of wisping a little bit of the hairs coming off. I'll come down to the bottom because we want it darker there as well. Apply it along the bottom. I'm going to strengthen that up a bit more. And then gently blend my way back up. We want, and I'll go back and darken the bottom and the top again. It's darker down the right side of her arm. And we're not looking to have long, shaggy fur, but we do want to have a little bit more of a fur look than coming off the edges on the feet. I'm going to pat it in up top there and just softly scratch my way down, blending those colors together. I'll darken on the bottom again a bit more. A bit darker to that right side. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of our mix. Now that was the mix we used back in the beginning. And I'm just going to lightly scratch some highlight fur. I want it more to the middle down the arm, but it doesn't mean keep it in a stripe. Work my way down, fading it out.
Nice.
And again, I might darken the bottom a little bit more. and up above her, top of her arm, under her collar. And that's that. Okay, so we're going to dry brush Morning Mist with our Lunar Blender up the light sections of the dress. You want to fade it out. You don't want it to have a striped look. Just a nice, soft, dry brush. Work your way around on all of your creases. And taking the raw umber with the soft black mix that we used for shading, and I'm just putting the little line for a nose. And mouth on the bottom of her. It's not a huge nose, it's just a little bit. And I'm going to use soft black and do the bow. You do it with soft black and a few lines, just a few swipes. Of plum suede. And that's just going to make it look like it's got a highlight in a few places. And then you're going to dot with your stylus. And we're going to go warm white. And Morning Mist. So I'll do one and then the other, randomly throughout. It's been easier to do the bow after. Now warm white.